Self-doubt and imposter syndrome are the lies you create in your head that tell you you just aren't good enough. In this episode, you're going to learn 3 effective ways to finally overcome self-doubt. If you struggle with overthinking, difficulty making decisions, imposter syndrome, and self-doubt, then this episode is perfect for you. Welcome to Calmly Coping. I'm your host, Tati Garcia. I'm a licensed therapist and a high-functioning anxiety coach. Calmly Coping is the podcast for people who struggle with anxiety and high-functioning anxiety. Each Wednesday, you'll hear informative episodes with actionable tips about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy so you can live a calm and balanced life. Let's get started. This is episode number 40, 3 ways to finally overcome self-doubt. So in this episode, you're going to learn the root of your self-doubt and why it's normal, reflection questions to help you dig deep into the sources of your self-doubt, along with 3 actionable tips to help you overcome your self-doubt. Welcome back, and welcome if you're a first-time listener. Thank you so much for tuning in. I feel a pit in my stomach just thinking about it. Self-doubt. The lies we create in our heads that tell us that we just aren't good enough. I know them well, and I still struggle with them. Self-doubt is an entirely normal part of being human. But sometimes you might start to believe that these lies and doubts are actually facts. Like the times you told yourself, I won't be successful, I'm not good enough, I should be doing more, people don't like me, I can't achieve my goals. Do any of those statements sound familiar? Self-doubt can also go hand in hand with imposter syndrome. So this is the feeling that you're a fraud, or you're not knowledgeable in what you do, or that you'll be found out as being inadequate. Overcoming self-doubt starts with acknowledging that these doubts are lies. You're doubting yourself out of fear, and you tell yourself lies to protect yourself from failure. Because if you never start, then you can never fail. Taking the first step is often the hardest, and those feelings of self-doubt can keep you stuck behind the starting line. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's that you're not the lies that you tell yourself. And you can start to overcome self-doubt by identifying your areas of self-doubt. So what's important to you in life? What are your goals? Those big, lofty goals that you only dream about. Or even a small goal that you have that you're feeling stuck and held back by right now. Now, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that you won't be able to accomplish them? Or that the opportunities will never come? I want to share one of my self-doubts that I've struggled with, especially in the beginning stages of this podcast. So I was often doubtful that I was doing the right thing when it came to my podcast. Sometimes I wonder if the work I'm putting in is effective, good enough, or resonating with anybody. And sometimes I doubt whether I've chosen a topic that people care about or need help with. And then that would lead to overwhelm and procrastination. I would research to make sure that the topic I had was good enough. I feel like I'm behind the competition when I look at how successful other people are. And in the past, especially, I wondered if I would ever feel like I'm doing well at what I do. I have started to feel more confident and less doubtful over time. And a lot of that has come from just doing the thing and just facing those fears. And the reality is that these thoughts are scary. And sometimes it might feel more comfortable to continue doubting myself, as my need to do things the right way stops me in my tracks. Can you relate to this? I can bet that you might have had similar types of fears, even if it doesn't have to do with releasing a podcast. One thing that really helps is to take action to face those fears. So before we get to that, let's take some time to reflect. So I really want you to dig deep and identify the following. You can grab a journal if you want to journal this stuff now, or you can just mentally reflect on these questions as I talk through them. So I want you to think about goals that you're currently working towards or areas of your life that are important for you to do well in. What are you afraid of when it comes to accomplishing these goals? Imagine what might happen if you're not successful. And what are those beliefs that you hold about yourself that cause you to doubt your abilities? So, some examples might be I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, maybe I'm not as good as others. And what are beliefs that you've seen in others or heard from other people, like maybe you've heard negative feedback that have caused you to doubt yourself? So, these questions can be a great starting point to reflect on the sources and the roots of your self doubt. Now, before we get into the 3 ways to overcome self doubt, I want to quickly tell you about my free course. If you're a high achiever who struggles with putting way too much pressure on yourself, you have difficulty disconnecting, and you feel like you can never fully relax, then you'll want to enroll in my free 3-day course, How to Calm Your Mind So You Can Finally Relax. In this free course, I walk you through getting to the root of what's preventing you from fully relaxing, learning my Relax framework to help you identify the best ways to relax and recharge, and how you can relax intentionally so that you set yourself up for long-term success. You can enroll in this free course by going to calmlycoping.com/relax or by clicking on the link in the show notes. Tip number 1 to overcome self-doubt is to create a list of your strengths. When you get caught in that downward spiral of negative thoughts, then it becomes easier to think more and more negative thoughts and stew in the resulting difficult emotions. So one way that you can counteract these negative thoughts and self-doubts is by injecting some positivity into your mind. You have so many strengths that make you the unique person you are. So think about the strengths you have that directly invalidate those doubts that you're having about yourself. So for example, let's say you doubt that you can give a presentation at your work meeting tomorrow because you fear that you're not knowledgeable enough. So that doubt might be that I'm not knowledgeable enough to give this presentation, and my coworkers and superiors will know that I lack the knowledge required for this job. Now, the strength that challenges and invalidates that doubt is to think that you were hired and assigned to give this presentation for a reason. Others had confidence in your abilities. You are professional, sufficiently prepared for the presentation, and you have successfully educated your coworkers on similar subject matters. So try this out for yourself by first identifying what your self-doubt thoughts are, and then directly challenge those doubts with factual evidence about your strengths from the past or present. Now, I know that sometimes it can be really difficult to think of your strengths. I want you to be as objective as possible because I know that you have strengths, and it's normal to have difficulty thinking about those strengths because we're often focusing on what's wrong with us rather than what's right with us. So take some time, even ask some friends and family for what they think your strengths are, if that's going to help you to come up with the strengths that you personally have. Tip number 2 is to think about the worst case scenario. So this might seem kind of counterintuitive because why would you possibly want to think about the scariest possible outcome to result from that self-doubt inducing scenario? The reason you want to do this is because we often make things so much scarier and bigger in our heads than they actually are. And taking time to think about the worst likely outcome can help to put your doubts into perspective. Like if you doubt your spelling and grammar skills and make an error in your email, it's not the end of the world. Most people will probably overlook it and forget about it within 5 minutes. Even if your situation is much bigger than just sending emails, you'll often find that the worst case scenario is if you don't take any action or move forward. You're afraid for a reason, because what you're doing is important to you. And remember that the majority of the time, the worst case scenario will not happen. And even if it does, you can handle it because you've handled difficult things before, and you can certainly handle them in the future. Tip number 3 is to think about times that you've been successful in the past. Think about a time when you've been anxious about something in the future or doubtful of how things would go. Did you make it through? Are you still here? Even if the experience wasn't the best, I can guarantee that there was something you could learn from it to improve how you approach the situation the next time. This information is golden to help you conquer self-doubt in the present moment. So think about the times when you've experienced doubt and pushed through anyway. Remind yourself that you've done it before and you can certainly do it again. All you have to do is actually do it. Self-doubt is normal and temporary. Even the most successful and intelligent of people experience self-doubt. It's an entirely normal human experience, but can sometimes prevent us from moving forward and accomplishing the things we want to or need to. I used to experience tons of self-doubt when I was first starting out as a therapist. I doubted, was I doing things the right way? What am I actually supposed to do? But through pushing myself through that self-doubt and continuing to take action, I gained the skills and knowledge and confidence to feel more comfortable, and that self-doubt gradually faded away. Feelings of self-doubt are not permanent, and you can always change them just by realizing that they are not facts. Once you can understand the lies that you tell yourself, you can start to remember why you're doing this in the first place and all the unique strengths you have that are going to help you become successful. Your action tip is to grab your journal and practice at least one of these tips next time you start experiencing self-doubt. So you can create a list of your strengths, think about the worst case scenario, how likely it is, and how you would cope with it, or think about times that you have been successful in the past. Remember that there's nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. And the more you take action and face your fears, the more confident and less doubtful you will feel. Sometimes you do have to fake it until you make it, but it doesn't mean you aren't qualified. It just means that your self-talk hasn't caught up to your abilities yet. So put this into action and let me know how it helps. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can DM me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC or email me at tati@becalmwithtati.com and let me know. If you found this podcast episode informative, please leave me a review on iTunes letting me know your thoughts. It really helps me out. And while you wait for next week's episode, I have other episodes about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and until next time, be calm. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please share this episode with a friend, and please subscribe and leave me a review on iTunes. Also, remember to check me out online at calmlycoping.com and connect with me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC. All content here is for informational purposes only. This content does not replace the professional judgment of your own mental health provider. Please consult a licensed mental health professional for all individual questions and issues. Till next time, I'm Tati, and this has been Calmly Coping.